All right, everyone. So today I'm going to explain a huge secret when it comes to gearing up through the market in Raid Shadow Legends. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain it really quickly here at the start for those of you guys who are a bit more advanced. And then I'm going to spend the rest of the video kind of explaining how this secret works in more detail for those of you guys who are newer to the game. So the basic version of this secret is you want to be a lot more strict when it comes to purchasing weapons, helmets, and shields, and you want to be a lot more lenient and buy more boots, gloves, and chests. But once again, you want to be more strict and buy less weapons, helmets, and shields, and you want to be more lenient and be willing to buy more boots, gloves, and chests. Now that's the really short version. Now I'm going to explain how this secret works and why it is so important. And if you end up making the mistake of not really knowing too much about this, you're going to do what I, as well as tons of other newer players do, and purchase way too much stuff in the market. It can end up being very expensive. As you can see, this uncommon weapon right here is over 500,000 silver. That's a lot of farming. That's a lot of energy you have to spend in order to make this kind of silver. And if you're just buying too much stuff in the market, and even if you're just buying stuff, if it looks decent, that's not going to be the only thing that you want to go off of in the market. That's a huge mistake. There's more that you want to follow to make sure that you guys are avoiding making too many purchases. I will constantly see on the Reddit and on the Discord images of gear and people saying, is it worth it? Is it not? I'll constantly see people purchasing gear for almost 1,000,000 silver on the market that they really didn't need to, and it adds up to be a lot. It's going to really slow down your account progress, which is why understanding this gearing up strategy through the market is so unbelievably important. Now, that being said, the market is going to be a fantastic way to get gear, so definitely don't ignore it. Absolutely make sure that you guys are checking the market for free every hour. I won't really get into whether refreshes are worth it or not. That's a whole different story, but if you guys are playing, you do get a free check every hour. Make sure when you guys see the red dot, you take a look at a quick glance in the market and see what you have. So going back to that secret, you want to buy more of the boots, chests, and gloves, and you want to buy less of the weapons, helmets, and the shields. Well, one of the things that happens if you don't follow this is you're going to end up with an artifact inventory similar to mine, especially for this set right here. You can see how many weapons I have, and also for helmets. I just equipped a bunch of the shields, but a major problem is that I am lacking on the gloves, the chests, and the boots. So if you just buy anything that looks decent on the market, what you're going to do is you're going to end up with way too many weapons, helmets, and shields. And it's also going to look like there are just way better weapons, helmets, and shields on the market than there are gloves, boots, and chests. This is a bit of an illusion that's not actually completely true, and you guys will see why in a second after I explain this a little bit better. But there's more that you want to look at when it comes to just the stats. So you're going to end up with a whole bunch of extra equipment, and because each champion only needs one piece of equipment, that extra silver that you ended up spending on those weapons, helmets, and shields is essentially going to go to waste, and you could have spent it on upgrading your gear and adding value and power to your champions in your account instead. So we're going to go over a little bit of a basic overview here. I talked about it in many of my gearing videos. If you guys haven't seen them, this will be new, but if you have, you'll understand what I'm saying here, and it's this equipment square. So we have 9 pieces of equipment. We have the top row, the middle row, and the bottom row. Now, the bottom row is going to be jewelry. You cannot purchase jewelry in the market, so we are not going to talk about this at all in the video. It's really the top row and the middle row, and the major difference between the top row and the middle row and why it's going to be so important to the market. So once again, in the top row, you have your weapons, helmets, and shields, and the big difference between the top row and the middle row is, once again, when it comes to weapons, helmets, and shields, they are always going to roll the same main stat. Weapons will always have flat attack, shields will always have flat HP, or sorry, helmets will always have flat HP, and shields will always have flat defense. That is not going to be true for that middle row. We have gloves here. These ones have percentage HP, but that is not always going to be the case. You can get a little bit of an understanding of this just by looking at the gear screen in a campaign. So you have weapons here, always flat attack, helmets here, always flat HP, and shields here, always flat defense. But now, as you get into the gloves, chests, and the boots, there are going to be a lot of different main stats that they can end up rolling. And you're probably going to notice a lot of these are just not going to be that great. Things like flat HP, flat attack, flat defense, you're probably just generally going to want to stay away from those altogether. But then even specifically, if you have like an HP based champion, you're probably going to want to lean more towards either HP percentage or maybe critical rate, critical damage, one of those. So there's going to be a lot of options, and for specific champions, there's only actually going to be some of them that are going to be good for that champion. Whereas that's not the case for weapons, helmets, and shields. Because there's only one main stat, every weapon is going to have flat attack, so every weapon with good stats is going to be good for champions. Now, when it comes to the market, there is an absolutely amazing feature which makes the market super good, which, crazy enough, you cannot actually do this when you spend real money for gear. And this is why I always try to avoid recommending gear packs, is because they are such a gamble. Now, if you take a look at this gear pack, which would cost $40, you'll see that you can't actually see any of the details of the gear when you click over. It just says 6-star epic artifact, cruel weapon. If we go to the gloves, it just says 6-star epic artifact, cruel gauntlets. You don't get to see the substats. You don't even get to see the main stats. So there's a very high likelihood that when you purchase this gear pack, you're going to end up with a bunch of not so great pieces of gear with really bad stats. And if you end up with gloves that have, flat HP and just bad substats, not really going to be something that you're going to want to use, even though they are epic and 6-star. Those stats are way, way too valuable. This is something you do not have to worry about when it comes to the market. You can actually take a look at the gear and see not only what the main stats are, but you can also see what the substats are as well. Now, the main stat, not really going to be a problem when it comes to weapons, helmets, and shields, because they are always going to roll the same main stats. Shields will always have flat defense, so this is never going to change. It's just the substats that you want to look for, and this shield, accuracy, resistance, definitely not something I would buy. It's also 3 stars, and because I'm a bit more advanced, I would definitely stay away from 3-star gear, but that's going to more or less depend on what stage of the game you are at. Now, this is huge when it comes to gloves, chests, and boots, because you are not only going to get information on their substats, but you're also going to see what their main stat is. This is why the game has kind of an illusion of it seems like there's a lot better weapons, helmets, and shields than there are for gloves, chests, and boots, is because weapons, helmets, and shields only roll one main stat. All you're looking at is the substat, so it's going to be a lot easier to find a really, really good weapon, helmet, or shield in the market than it is going to be able to find a really good pair of boots, chests, or gloves. Because now, when you have that middle row of equipment, you are not only looking at the substats, you also have to look at the main stat that adds another layer of RNG, so a lot more things have to be good in order for you to want to make that purchase. So if this was not percentage HP, and if it were flat HP instead, it doesn't matter if it has speed, it doesn't matter if it had crit rate on it, you would probably not want to buy those because they don't have a good main stat. That doesn't work when it comes to weapons, helmets, and shields. They always have the same main stat, so it's going to look and it's going to appear to players, people playing the game and looking at stuff in the market, that there are a lot better weapons, helmets, and shields than there are gloves, chests, and boots. So this is why, going back to what I said towards the start of the video, is you want to end up buying less weapons, helmets, and shields, is because you don't have to worry about whether their main stat is good or not. You're going to, over the course of checking the market every hour that you play, if you do decide to use refreshes, just over the course of your overall account progress, through a period of time, you're going to notice that it looks like there's a lot better weapons, helmets, and shields. So you're going to want to be more strict. You're going to really want to try to find perfect stats, or as close to perfect stats on weapons, helmets, and shields before you end up buying them. So you really want to be strict. You don't just want to buy anything decent, especially if it's a weapon, helmet, or if it's a shield. Now, the opposite is true for gloves, boots, and chests, because you are not only looking at their main stat, their substats, you're also looking at their main stats. You're going to want to be a bit more lenient. So it's going to be a lot more difficult to find what looks like good gloves, chests, and boots. So if they roll somewhat decent, if they have a good main stat, if they have somewhat decent substats, you're probably going to want to end up buying it out. It doesn't need to be perfect for gloves, chests, and boots. What it does need to be close to perfect for is weapons, helmets, and shields. So don't just buy anything that looks like it has somewhat decent substats. keep that in mind. It's super, super important. And this is a mistake that everyone is going to end up making at some point or another. But the sooner that you guys realize this, it'll also kind of explain the reason why when you do look at the market, this is definitely something that I felt like for a really long time. It seems, hey, there really are way better weapons, helmets, and shields that are for sale in the market than there are gloves, chests, and boots. It's not the case. You're going to see roughly the same number of every piece of gear in the actual market. The only difference is because you're looking at both the main stat and the substat for those gloves, chests, and boots, it's going to look like there's a lot worse ones in the market than there actually are. So you want to be more strict with your weapons, helmets, and your shields. You want to be less strict with your gloves, your chests, and your boots. And that way, if you follow that advice, you're not going to end up with the problem of having way too many weapons, helmets, and shields and being lacking on gloves, chests, and boots. And then you won't feel like you have wasted all that silver, because silver is a limited resource, just like plenty of other things, just like energy or clan boss keys. It's something that you have to spend resources in order to get. So if you're using it inefficiently, or you're using it if you don't have to, then that's more time that you have to add to your overall account progress. And it is, if you think about it, it really just does slow your account progress down. So that's what I wanted to explain in this video. I'm hoping that you guys kind of, after me explaining it a little better, you guys understand what I'm talking about and why this is definitely a very, very important thing to know when it comes to gearing up through the market. With that all being said, that is indeed going to be it for the video today. So thank you guys for watching. I'm really hoping that it helped out and that you guys learned from the information that I shared with you guys today. If you did enjoy this video and you want more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you for all the support, everyone, and all the new subscribers. Really do appreciate it. And if you guys want to help out and take about a quarter of a second to click the like button really quickly before heading out, that would be absolutely fantastic as well. Feel free to check out plenty of my other Raid Shadow Legends guides and videos. They should be popping up on the screen right about now. And until next time, take care, everyone. This is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.